Hi there, it's October the 30th and we're beginning today a new book in the Greek scriptures. We are in the book of Hebrews and we are reading chapter 1, whole chapter from verses 1 to 14. Just a word about the letter to the Hebrews. It's a very difficult letter to pin down. There's even questions about whether it's a real letter. It has a codicil bringing greetings, but actually the opening of the normal letter declaring who the sender is and who the addressee is missing from this. It goes straight into the content, but we can know that this is addressed to Jewish Christians or to Jewish followers of Messiah. And it seems from the context of the letter, as we'll discover as we go through it, that perhaps these Jewish Christians are afraid of leaving behind some of their Jewish traditions and ways. It's very possible at the time that this was written, those who were following Messiah as Messiah of Israel are being excluded from the temple and from the synagogues, and so they're suffering, and so there's this sense of loss that they're going through. And maybe there's also this looking back, this desire to go back into the Jewish ways. This comes out later, perhaps in end of chapter 5 and chapter 6, and perhaps in chapter 10 as well, when the writer of this letter is encouraging, or the speaker of this address is encouraging them to push forward and to leave behind the old ways. But in opening this amazing letter here in chapter 1, the writer, and again we can't say who the writer is. There have been various suggestions. Paul was obviously the one traditionally held, but these days most people are saying this is not a Pauline letter. Maybe it was Silas, maybe it was Luke, maybe it was John. There are all kinds of contenders for who the writer is and where he was writing from, but we can't actually say for sure, again, who the addressees are. We can't particularly say, other than that they are Jews. Prosevreos in Greek means to the Jews, to the Hebrews. And this is obviously written to Jewish believers, but we don't know exactly where. Are they in Jerusalem? Are they in Alexandria, northern Egypt? Are they in Rome? Various authorities want to say various things. I would sense, my own sense would be that they're probably in Rome, and that this is before the time of the great persecutions, but we can't be sure about that. And as I say, many authorities say many things. What we can be sure about in this first chapter is that the writer is seeking to point out the exalted nature of Yeshua, of Jesus, the Messiah. And that Jesus is actually the exact representation of God, and the writer goes to a great deal of trouble to actually point this out. He says where God has spoken in the past through the fathers, that's the patriarchs, through Moses, through the prophets, he has now spoken, and in that sense he's spoken definitively once and for all through his Son. And his Son is heir of all things. That means he has an exalted place. Maybe there were those who were suggesting that Jesus is one of the angels, and therefore the writer comes in straight away and he says, no, Jesus is the exact representation. He is the radiance of God's glory. The character is the word he uses in Greek, charakter, meaning the impression on a coin of the emperor's head. Jesus is the full reflection of who God is. And he's being addressed in the Hebrew scriptures as the Son of God. And so the writer is drawing on the Hebrew scriptures because he knows that these carry weight with his readers who are Jews, who are used to reading the scriptures through avidly and diligently. And so he pulls from the main parts of the scriptures. He pulls from the writings, from the Psalms particularly. He quotes Psalm 2, he quotes Psalm 102, Psalm 45 in his making clear that Jesus is not just an angel. He is the Son. He is worshipped. He is honoured by the Father. He is given authority. And that first quote from Psalm 2, you are my son, today I've become your father, is making it clear. And also a quote here as well from the prophets, because Samuel, he quotes from here, from 2 Samuel 7, is part of the prophets, the Nevi'im. So he's quoting from the prophets, but he also quotes from the Torah, from Deuteronomy, or he quotes from a version of Deuteronomy which the Greek would have been familiar with, We may not find it initially in our own Bible there, but back in Deuteronomy chapter 32:43, there is a version of manuscript that actually say that that he is superior, that he is superior to angels, and let all angels worship him. Now, as I say, the writer here is trying to make clear the power and the authority of Jesus, that he is above anything that can be understood, anything that can be known. And God has actually said to him, which he hasn't said to any angels, and quoting here Psalm 110, "Sit at my right hand until I make your enemies your footstool." And he says, after all, Jesus can't be an angel because angels are ministering spirits. They are servant spirits. Jesus, on the other hand, is the Son. He is the heir of all things. So in this first chapter, the writer is seeking to clearly establish the supremacy of Yeshua as Messiah, not as one of the angels, not as just one of the courts of heaven. Jesus, he says, is the Son of the Father. He has sat down at the right hand of the Father. He is part of God. As we read these amazing words at the opening of Hebrews, we can be encouraged that we are looking to the one who is the sum of all things, who's been given, as Paul said earlier, the name above every name. And as we draw towards him, so we recognize that through him we will have access, as the writer to the Hebrews will go on to say, we have access to the Father's throne, where we have not had before through the old covenant, through the old dispensation. We are now in the upgrade of this new covenant, as we'll find out, which allows us access to the Father's face himself. Have a very good October 30th.